Okay, so everyone, in this session we're going to talk about the motion of the fluids that will going to help us in creating the sand. So let me just play up with the final render that I've got, and here you can take a look at that. That's basically the motion of that, the sand. It comes from the creature, since we're calling it as a sand creature, the Sandman. And the good thing is that you can see how realistic these shadows are behaving. Since I haven't used any of the Maya lights, these are just the fluid lights, and they are indeed really very powerful in that. So you can just let me just pause the frame for a while so that we can recognize the face. Okay, so here you can see that we still do have some recognizable patterns, or the recognizable the areas on the face that will give him a look of the creature. Here he holds his hands and all of that. And look at the motion of the sand, like the way he comes, and you can see the negativity of the negative buoyancy. It's really playing a very remarkable role. Here you can see how the way the fluids are dropping onto the ground and all of that, the way they are getting faded up with some proper value of the opacity graphs and the dissipations and all of that, all of which we're going to discuss just within a minute. Okay, so I think so now you have got the overlook of this, the render. So now let's get straight to the Maya scene files to know better the workflow. Okay, so here we go for in the Maya, and I have cleaned up the file also. Now you're going to see under the scene node I have deleted all those unnecessary things of rig data, skin data, that thing. I've left with only the creature with some supportive background elements and just nothing else. Okay, so first of all I'm gonna create the fluid container for that. Okay, but let me just do one thing first. I just need to unhide my creature, because based upon his size I'm going to decide the exact ratio for my container. So under the dynamics menu we're going to go for the fluid effects. Let's say create 3D container. Okay, let me just quickly name that as a sand fluids. Okay, and first of all let me just position it up correctly. You can go to the open the grids. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And let's just do one thing. I'm gonna increase the scale uniformly. Let's say 3.5 would be a better idea. Alright, now let me just quickly adjust the parameters of the containers. We're going to talk a lot on the base resolutions. Okay, so let's just keep that thing untouched. The size would be 10 is fine. For the y-axis I'll go for maybe 4, and for the z-axis I think so 10 is fine. Okay, so now first of all let's just carefully adjust the container. So here you can see the base plane which I am using, and by pressing the Alt and the upper arrow you can comfortably position them properly till the point you feel good and satisfied. Just press it few more times to reach to the level, and I think so here we got just a little bit down. Okay, up to the level, no problem. Yes, that's fine. So now we have completely adjusted our container. I just need to bring it a little bit more further, and let's say we're going to put that near around this. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, now what are you going to do next? Just to select the container and this creature, under the fluid effects, add edit contents, go for the emit from the object, because since I described you earlier also that this creature will be the only source of the fluid emissions. Okay, so emit from object, click over here with settings set to the reset settings and all, and let's say apply and close. Okay, no problem. And let's just do one thing without any tweak, without any settings. Let's just see how it gonna look. Obviously I can have a little bit more base resolution, otherwise it's just like that, we're gonna start with 100, and without any setting, just nothing. I'd like to show you up what we're gonna have it. So I think so it completely looks completely looks different. It stands no way in comparison to the sand. You can see that the fluids are basically rising up. We can't say it's wrong because of the default buoyancy settings, which is 1. Okay, not to make him more embarrassed, just stop the play blast and set it to down. Okay, so what next I gotta do is that select the container and just start moving towards, first of all, with the emitter. Here the role of the emitter is extremely very important. How and why? Let's just take a look at that. Well, first of all, I like to shut it down, the fluid drop off to the 0. For sure we're not going to use the heat method and the fluid method, since this reaction is completely based upon the density as well as the velocity grids. We'll surely not going to need any of the heat and the fuel emitters, so just put them to no emissions, and for the fuel also put them to no emissions. Okay, I'm going to discuss about this attribute motion streak, but not here. We're going to have a separate lesson where I'm going to describe some more and interesting values which you can adjust to get some more interesting results. Okay, so we'll surely going to come back to this option, motion streaks, but for right now I would like to concentrate on the emission speed attributes. And guys, just put your attention towards here. This is really going to be very effective and extremely important method. Why? Because since the motion of the sand is also controlled by the behavior and the motion of the creature, you can understand a simple fact that if you are traveling to the buses or to the vehicle and you are standing, and just imagine that the brakes are applied onto the vehicle and your body is also dragged towards that motion, or your position will get displaced. What is that? It's basically due to the inertia. It's a law of the physics. But in the animation, when one object is moving, the things, let's say the fluids, if it is getting emitted from the object, it will surely going to follow the previous path what the object has already followed. Okay, in animation, if I'm not wrong, I think so, this principle is also called as the follow through and the overlap. So what I'm going to do here, the speed methods, I mean the speed of the fluids, is also controlled by this creature movements also. How? If you're going to click the speed methods and let's say add, okay, so what we're going to do, the speed of the fluids will remain be there, but it will additionally going to followed by this creature. So the first thing comes is the inherent velocity. Inherent velocity is really going to be important because, as the name suggests, it will going to inherit the properties of its parent, which here in the case is the emitter. Okay, so I'm gonna put that thing to 2. Okay, previously I gave the value to the 3, but some sort of artifacts or instability was coming up, so the ideal value would be approximately 1.5 to the 2. Okay, I suggest you to go for 1.5. Okay, so by setting that, our job is done. Now let's just do one thing before we run the play. We going to use some more important setting, that is the buoyancy. Okay, because if I don't set that thing, you going to observe that even the inherent velocity will not going to play a lot of role. So to achieve it, what I'm going to do, the buoyancy should be set that to -6. Okay, alright, so friends, I think so we should need to move to the next lesson, and we're going to see the changes we're going to get by playing the timeline. Okay, now let's move to the next lesson.